thank you guys for coming tonight to the 10E Booze and Book Club. We get drunk and we hear great stories. I want to thank Richard Stanley for being here tonight, giving us the opportunity to do this. Thank you for writing this book. This fantastic book, Up on Game, from robbing banks to stacking Bitcoin. Put your hands together, please. Man of the hour, the author, Richard Stanley.
What was it like getting caught, basically, in the sense that, like, you went from robbing banks to now I'm going to prison? What is the thought process of,
yeah, I was tripping. Because the whole reason I kept robbing banks at some point, because I didn't really need to rob banks at the end. I already had a shit ton of money, like, saved up. But I remember thinking, like, oh, fuck, I've already done, how many banks, that's how many years in prison. I was like, I'm going to get life anyway, may as well keep robbing banks. So that was my logic as a teenager. So when they finally caught me, it wasn't red-handed. I was at a hotel. I got set up. I was an idiot. I should have known I was being set up. And this tweaker girl that was friends with a girl who was with me in the hotel, she freaking calls me at like 2 or 3, and she's like, hey, where are you at? And I was like, oh, we're over here at this hotel. And she's like, oh, who are you with? I was like, homegirl. And she's like, oh, okay. She's like, is anybody else there with you? Like, just a bunch of random ass questions. And I was like, no. And she's like, okay, bye. Hung up. That was her freaking with the feds, And then they came in the morning, and I was laying down with the girl, and then I just heard boom, 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 FBI, open up. And that's what startled me. But if I'm being honest, at first, I wasn't sure if it was a joke, because I used to have this friend that I'd stay with, and every now and again, he'd be like out, and then I know he was coming home, and I'd hide on top of the washer and dryer. And this was when we were already robbing banks, so it was a really, really funny joke. And I'd hide on top of the washer and dryer and close the little doors, and he'd be situated, like, doing his thing, and then I'd come out like, FBI! And he'd be like, what the? So he'd get me like that. So I woke up to it, and I was like, more or less thinking, did I just hear that? Is it a joke? Is it the feds? And then I heard, doo, 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 FBI, and like so many voices, and I was like, oh, okay, it's probably really the FBI. And then I had the latch on, and the door popped open when I was walking there, and then I seen gun. I closed it. They were like, open the door. I was fucking tripping. And then I told them, hold on, let me get the latch off. And I took the latch off, and they just, like, the main agent was this little lady, man. She was like 50-something, looked like a teacher or something, Miss Anderson. And she came in and just made me turn around, put the cuffs on, told me it was a search warrant issue. I was like, all right, I still wasn't saying anything. But then they took me to the FBI building, and they were like, we know you did this and that and the other. And I was tripping. I was like laughing, crying. I was all over the place. I was a fucking mess, But and then they took me to jail, and it was more just like it's happening, That's kind of how I always dealt with shit, Like, this is happening now. What do you do? A carload of fools pulls up. What do you do? It's happening. Like, so I just kind of I would take things as they came, and just deal with them. But it was definitely stressful, not knowing what to. All you got to do is go off of the movies you've seen pretty much, and some of the stories you hear from other people. But you don't really know who's putting what, like who's putting extra icing on the cake, and putting a little extra on it, or so it's a little scary, but it's not as. Where I went with the structure it was actually benefit. It helped me a lot with the structure, like prison structure that was already in place, because as soon as you go into prison and you fall into a car, and that's it. That car got your back, and the only thing that people really stress on, in my opinion, is what am I gonna have to do, to like live comfortably? Am I gonna get called down on it? And it's like, so you just kind of deal with that as it comes too.